You were deceived. They told you that controlling everything around you is the key to peace. That's a lie. True calm doesn't come from the outside. It's born within. And what few people know is that there's an ancient, powerful secret, ignored by most, but practiced by the most resilient throughout history: Stoicism. While the modern world rushes, screams, and drowns in distractions, there's a timeless philosophy that teaches how to master chaos with silence, focus, and purpose. Yes, it's possible to remain serene, even amid pressure, demands, and the daily rush. You know that feeling that you're always behind, that there are 1,000 things to do, but none of them truly fulfill you. That's not normal. It's a symptom of a mind overwhelmed and disconnected from its own essence. Stoicism offers a clear, direct antidote: self-control, acceptance, and virtue. And the best part, it doesn't require a radical change. It doesn't demand you to become a monk or isolate yourself from the world. You just need to change the way you see life. And when you change your perspective, everything changes. What you're about to discover isn't just content, it's transformation. A new way to think, react, and live. A way so powerful it can make the stress that dominates you today become irrelevant tomorrow. Get ready. Because by the end of this video, you won't be the same person. And maybe, just maybe, you'll understand why so many successful and serene people carry this philosophy as an invisible shield. Amid the noise of the modern world, tight schedules, demanding social media, and internal pressures, it's easy to feel like your mind has turned into a storm. And this is exactly where Stoicism comes in as a beacon in the chaos. It's not just an ancient philosophy, it's a true compass of serenity, capable of reminding us of the power of self-control, even when everything seems out of control. When someone practices accepting what they can't change, they create mental space to focus on what really matters. Have you noticed how most of our stress comes from things beyond our control? Traffic, weather, other people's opinions. All of that becomes dust when you understand what true acceptance is. And that's where the path begins for those who choose virtue over reactivity. Serenity in this context isn't passivity, it's power. It's choosing not to be a hostage to the external world. The Stoic knows they can't stop the rain, but they can choose to walk without complaining. This philosophy is like emotional strength training. The more you practice, the stronger you get. And to start, try something simple. The next time you're stuck in traffic, instead of thinking, "This always makes me late," try, "This is out of my control, so I'll use this time to listen to something uplifting." Maybe a good audiobook from Marcus Aurelius or a podcast about resilience. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be peaceful. It just needs perspective. It's easy to get lost in anxiety when everything around you demands urgency. But nature is never in a rush, and yet everything gets done. Stoicism teaches us to return to that natural rhythm of things. Accepting life's timing is a way of honoring your own nature. When someone truly understands this, a kind of detachment is born, one that's deeply freeing. Expectations stop ruling your mind, and you begin to live with more lightness, even on tough days. It's like taking a deep breath before reacting to a problem. That brief pause, as small as it may seem, changes everything. A lot of people think that to find peace, they need to escape from the city, from people, from problems. But running doesn't solve it. Understanding does. External chaos will never fully disappear, so the real challenge is to make sure it doesn't become internal chaos. Through self-control and acceptance, you discover that you can be a solid rock in the middle of a rushing river. And that doesn't come from magic or miracle formulas. It comes from mental training. Just like you go to the gym to strengthen your body, You can use Stoicism to strengthen your mind. 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Reading a quote from Epictetus, reflecting on a problem with more serenity, practicing gratitude even on cloudy days. And the most interesting part? The deeper you go into this practice, the more you realize that living with virtue is less about what happens to you and more about how you respond. Because chaos is inevitable, but suffering isn't always necessary. The key lies in your perspective, and when your perspective shifts, reality shifts too. Now imagine if you could turn adversity into constant growth instead of frustration. That's exactly the path Stoic principles offer, revealing powerful secrets on how to achieve unshakable inner peace. Life is already complicated enough for us to waste time trying to control what's beyond our reach, right? One of the core pillars of Stoicism is exactly this distinction: what depends on me and what doesn't. It sounds simple, but this awareness changes everything. When you focus only on what you can control, your actions, reactions, thoughts, you begin to experience a kind of freedom the modern world has forgotten. And you know what's curious? Peace doesn't come from what happens around you, but from how you respond within. This practice generates a serenity no one can take away, not even on the hardest days. Another powerful principle is acceptance, not resignation, but maturity. Like when it rains on the day of your outing, you can complain or use that time to read something uplifting, like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This kind of attitude cultivates self-control and shows there's wisdom in adjusting your sails instead of waiting for the wind to change. Accepting the present is accepting life, and living in the now with real presence is an act of virtue. Because when we're always waiting for the future to make everything better, we let the present slip through our hands. Stoicism also teaches that virtue should guide all decisions: courage to face challenges, justice to act with fairness, wisdom to discern, and self-control to avoid impulsive reactions. These 4 pillars are like an internal GPS. When followed, they keep you aligned with your true nature. Imagine, for example, a disagreement at work. Instead of blowing up, self-control allows you to breathe, think, and respond with dignity. That's what transforms relationships and creates true respect. Inner peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to move through it with integrity. The daily practice of these principles builds emotional resilience. It's like creating an invisible shield that protects you from criticism, disappointment, and even fear of failure. A great exercise is the morning reflection. Before starting your day, think about the challenges that might arise: traffic, setbacks, negative comments, and visualize yourself facing each one with calm. This is a form of premeditation of evils, preparing your spirit and reducing emotional shock. The result: less reactivity, more balance. And when practiced consistently, it becomes a habit that transforms. Each Stoic principle works like a tool, not to make you immune to pain, but to teach you not to be ruled by it. And as these ideas are slowly woven into daily life, whether in traffic, a difficult conversation, or facing a loss, life starts to feel more stable. Not perfect, but lighter. It's like trading desperation for direction. And when you begin to walk with clarity, it's only natural that virtue becomes your emotional shield, the one that protects you from within, even when the world outside is falling apart. Virtue, in the Stoic view, isn't some abstract or overly philosophical concept that's hard to apply in daily life. Quite the opposite. It's practical, direct, and shapes your decisions in every small moment. Think of virtue as a shield, not made of steel, but of awareness. It doesn't protect you from the world, but from yourself. When you act with courage despite fear, with justice under pressure, with wisdom in uncertainty, and with self-control in the face of anger, you're armored. It gives you a kind of strength that doesn't shout, but is deeply felt, a silent, steady strength that holds you up. Let's be honest. Maintaining emotional balance when everything's going well is easy. The real challenge is staying composed when you're misunderstood, when someone disrespects you, or when injustice unfolds before your eyes. In those moments, virtue is the filter that keeps you from sinking to the level of chaos. A practical example? Instead of returning rudeness with more rudeness, you can choose wisdom, stepping away or responding with clarity and calm. Not out of weakness, but out of self-control and the understanding that your peace is worth more. Virtue also has a powerful effect on relationships. When you practice justice, you start to see things from the other person's perspective. When you act with courage, you inspire those around you. And when you exercise self-control, you stop small conflicts from turning into emotional disasters. Have you noticed how the most admired people are often the calmest? That's no coincidence. They've cultivated solid character, guided by principles. It draws trust and respect. It's as if their very presence says, "You can count on me, there's strength in here." But this isn't built overnight. It takes practice, discipline, and a lot of attention to your own impulses. Stoicism offers a valuable exercise. Before going to bed, review your day and reflect on your actions. Where did you lack courage? Where were you just? Where did self-control fail? This self-analysis isn't for guilt, it's for growth. Little by little, you begin shaping your conduct and becoming an emotional fortress. Not rigid, but steady. Flexible like a tree that bends but doesn't break. That's resilience, that's living with purpose. And the more you practice virtue, the more it becomes part of who you are. It starts to guide even the smallest details, the way you speak, how you listen, how you act. And this quiet transformation is the true power of Stoicism. It's not about appearing strong, but being strong on the inside. And when adversity knocks, because it will, you'll already have something prepared. The Stoic visualization of challenges, known as the premeditation of evils. An ancient habit that still today transforms the way we face life. Imagine starting your day not with forced optimism, but with solid mental preparation. The Stoic technique of premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils, is just that, calmly anticipating what could go wrong. It's not pessimism, it's wisdom. Like a general who studies the terrain before the battle. By predicting obstacles, you become emotionally more prepared. Chaos doesn't catch you off guard, and your reaction is no longer a wildfire. Those who practice this visualization regularly notice that many fears lose their power simply by being confronted before they ever happen. This technique can be applied in a simple, practical way. Before an important meeting, for example, imagine that it might start late, someone might interrupt you, or that things may not go exactly as planned. Then ask yourself, if that happens, how can I maintain my virtue? This kind of preparation reduces anxiety and strengthens self-control. It's like walking with a raincoat on a cloudy day. If it rains, you're ready, and if it doesn't, great. But in either case, you're not caught off guard. That gives you an emotional edge in today's world. The premeditation of evils also helps cultivate detachment. When you visualize possible losses, whether material possessions, relationships, or status, you begin to value what's truly essential. You realize that nothing is really yours. Everything is borrowed from life. This doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear-minded. And with that clarity, you connect with the fleeting nature of things. A broken phone, an unexpected job loss, a cancelled flight. None of it has the power to ruin your day, because your mind was already prepared. That's what it means to live with resilience. Visualizing adversity can also be used when making decisions. When faced with a difficult choice, imagine the worst-case scenarios. If you can remain calm, even while picturing those outcomes, you're ready. If not, maybe it's time to rethink the decision. This kind of clarity is rare nowadays, but it's entirely achievable with practice. The secret lies in stopping for 5 minutes, closing your eyes, and allowing yourself to reflect. If everything goes wrong, can I still stand firm with virtue and self-control? And when this exercise becomes a habit, something interesting happens. Fear loses its grip and courage grows stronger. You begin to see that most of the things you dread are smaller than they first seemed. This doesn't shield you from pain, but it gives you power over how you respond to it. Constantly visualizing impermanence creates a sense of serenity that's hard to shake, and that's when the next step becomes natural, to live in harmony with nature, respecting its cycles, its rhythms, and the limits of our own human condition. Living in harmony with nature, according to the Stoics, doesn't mean moving to the woods or hugging trees, though a little greenery never hurts. It means aligning your actions with your essence, with what's natural to being human: reason, virtue, serenity. When we act against our nature, inner conflict arises. But when we choose to follow what's true within us, we find peace. Have you ever noticed how life flows better when you listen to your intuition, respect your timing, and stop forcing things? That's nature speaking from within, and the Stoic learns to listen closely. Nature also teaches us about cycles. Just like there are seasons of the year, there are seasons of life, moments to plant, to harvest, and to wait. Anxiety shows up when we try to bloom in the middle of an emotional winter. But living wisely means respecting the natural pace of things. There's no point in blaming yourself for not being where you want to be yet. What matters is taking one step at a time with self-control and purpose. The Stoic understands that even the stones along the path are part of the journey. And instead of fighting time, he learns to walk with it. Aligning with nature also means recognizing the transience of all things. Things change, people change, and we change too. When we resist change, we suffer. But when we accept that impermanence is part of the game, detachment arises, not the kind that denies, but the kind that understands. A job that ends, a relationship that falls apart, a project that doesn't work out. All of that can be painful, but it doesn't have to be a cliff. If we face it with maturity, we see that life is simply moving us forward. Nature never stops, and neither do we. Beyond that, living in harmony with nature means cultivating habits that are simple but powerful. Sleeping well, eating mindfully, walking outside, watching the sky, listening to the sounds around you. Serenity grows from these small practices. They reconnect us with the present, with the body, with conscious breathing. A great Stoic exercise is walking in silence and observing what's around you. The song of a bird, the wind on your face, the warmth of the sun. All of it is available and free to those who choose to be present. And that presence is the fertile ground of virtue. What's most fascinating is realizing that when you live in harmony with nature, you feel less alone. There's a greater force holding everything together, even when things seem out of place. And it's in that quiet connection with the whole that true resilience is born, a sense that, despite the ups and downs, you're part of something bigger. And within that awareness, deeper relationships begin to form. Because when you're at peace with the world, you start building a different kind of friendship, the kind based on solid values, not just fleeting affinities. Friendship, through the Stoic lens, isn't about quantity, it's about quality. It's not about who entertains you during the good times, but who holds you up during the hard ones. The Stoics believed that true friendship is born from a shared alignment of values, not from fleeting interests. A connection where virtue is the bond, not just compatibility. You know that friend with whom you can be fully yourself, no masks, no judgment. That kind of relationship is worth more than 1,000 casual contacts. It's a mirror that helps you grow, that challenges you with kindness, and encourages you to stay grounded when life gets heavy. Having someone nearby who values self-control, resilience, the acceptance of hardship, and the pursuit of virtue is like having a constant reminder of who you aspire to become. And what's interesting, these kinds of relationships aren't built at parties, but through honest conversations, shared silence, and quiet gestures. A good Stoic friend doesn't fuel your anger. They help dissolve it. They don't just pat you on the back when you're wrong. They invite you to reflect with wisdom. It's like walking beside someone who holds your hand without holding you back. In a world where so many people seek instant validation and easy applause, finding someone who speaks the truth with calm is gold. And that's exactly what Stoicism invites us to be. That kind of person, attracting that kind of company. When two people walk with the same principles, friendship becomes a strong, almost unbreakable alliance. A practical example? Building bonds with those who share high values, Stoic reading groups, personal growth communities, people truly seeking evolution. That's how an emotionally solid foundation is built. Stoic friendships also serve as a refuge in moments of solitude. But be careful, not to fill the void, rather to help you understand it better. A true friend doesn't fix your emptiness. They help you face it with greater clarity. And strangely enough, that strengthens your independence even more. It's as if friendship teaches you how to be okay alone, and at the same time, how to value the right kind of company. Because when we're aligned with nature, we understand that everything has its time, including human connections. And when they're real, they stand the test of time with ease. And just like we choose what we put on our plates or what we consume online, we must also choose who we walk alongside. Because friendships shape our mindset, influence our habits, and reflect our level of awareness. And when you're surrounded by people who lift you up, not through pressure but through example, life gains a special kind of flow. That's when solitude stops being a burden and becomes an ally. A fertile space where virtue grows without distractions and where silence becomes the teacher. Solitude, when approached with maturity, is a hidden gift. While many run from it as if it were punishment, the Stoic embraces it as an opportunity. It's in silence that we hear our own conscience more clearly. It's away from the external noise that we discover internal serenity. Conscious solitude isn't isolation, it's a choice. It's deciding to spend time with yourself, not from lack of options, but out of a need for realignment. And in that calm space, answers begin to surface, the ones that the rush of life never allows us to hear. Most people fear solitude because they've never learned how to be with it. But when someone allows themselves to truly be alone, they realize they're not lonely. They're whole. That's where true self-knowledge is born, and with it, emotional strength. It's no coincidence that many of history's great thinkers sought out periods of voluntary solitude. Marcus Aurelius wrote his reflections during lonely nights, and it was in that space he polished his virtue. Solitude, for the Stoic, is a lab for self-control, detachment, and resilience. Living through moments of conscious solitude also helps reevaluate relationships, choices, and habits. Have you noticed how certain truths become clearer when you're alone? It's because the absence of distractions reveals what was hidden. And that's liberating. A powerful practice is to set aside 20 minutes a day with no phone, no music, no stimulation. Just sitting, breathing, reflecting. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but with time, it becomes a powerful ritual of alignment with your inner nature. That's where serenity begins to take root. Moreover, conscious solitude develops emotional self-sufficiency. You learn to be your own company, your own counselor, your own center, And that doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world. It means opening up to yourself. When you feel complete, even in solitude, you stop seeking in others what could only ever be found within. This kind of autonomy strengthens virtue, because someone who is whole doesn't mold themselves out of neediness, but out of awareness. And the freedom that comes from this, few people experience it, but everyone can cultivate it. And when solitude becomes your ally, the external noise no longer controls you. You begin to observe your own thoughts more attentively, like someone tending to an inner garden. And that constant observation is the next step in the Stoic journey, training the mind to focus on what truly matters, reframing limiting beliefs, letting go of fleeting desires, and strengthening the inner discipline that sustains the entire path. The mind, when untrained, becomes a storm of useless thoughts, and Stoicism understands this better than anything. That's why one of its most powerful foundations is the discipline of thought. Watching what passes through your mind as if you were observing a river, not trying to grab the water, just noticing the flow. When you realize not every thought deserves attention, you start to feel a deeper calm. It's like being in the middle of chaos and still having peace. This practice changes everything, and the most interesting part, it requires nothing more than mindfulness and consistency. You can start now. Whenever a negative thought arises, ask yourself, is this true? Does this help me grow? Is this within my control? Just these questions can clear away a lot of mental clutter. It's a filter of clarity, and as you develop this habit, you naturally begin to detach. You stop clinging to opinions, fleeting desires, or goals that no longer make sense. Your focus shifts. You begin to prioritize what's essential. And what is essential? Virtue, self-control, and peace with your own conscience. This discipline also protects against self-sabotage. How many times have you held yourself back out of fear of judgment or because you believed you weren't good enough? Thoughts like these, if left unchecked, end up taking the wheel of your life. Detachment here is vital. Detaching from the need to please, to always win, to always be right. That is freedom. That is applied Stoicism. A powerful exercise is to write down every morning the thoughts that bother you the most, and next to them, rewrite those thoughts with more clarity and virtue. It sounds simple, but it's transformative. By training the mind, you also train the heart. Because thoughts shape emotions, and when you learn not to believe everything you think, you start to choose what to believe. The discipline of thought creates a clean, stable mind, and detachment clears out the weight of what no longer serves you. It's like organizing a home. You get rid of the excess so you can better see what's truly valuable. And the lighter the mind, the more peaceful the journey. After all, you can't walk far carrying baggage that was never yours. And it's in this mental clarity that the ability to live in the present moment begins to emerge. Because a disciplined mind doesn't get lost in the past or anxious about the future, it rests in the now. And it's in this moment, this very instant, that your connection to the universe and nature reveals itself in the deepest way. A silent invitation to live with gratitude, with open eyes and a calm heart. There's something almost magical about simply stopping to contemplate the sky. The Stoics understood this. When you look at the universe with eyes of reverence, you realize how small you are in the face of its vastness, and at the same time, how important your role here truly is. It doesn't create insignificance, but perspective. Nature has a rhythm, an order, and living in harmony with that brings serenity. What is out of your control dissolves into acceptance, and what is within your reach becomes illuminated with purpose. That is being present. That is being aligned with the nature of life. Connection to the present moment is one of the greatest strengths against modern stress, because when the mind is in the future, it lives in anxiety. When it's in the past, it lives in regret. But the present is the only place where life truly happens. The practice of Stoicism invites us to bring our attention to the now. How do we do that? Start with the basics. Conscious breathing. Inhale deeply. Feel the air entering your body and say to yourself, I am here. It might seem too simple, but it's transformative. The now is always lighter than the fears the mind invents. Contemplating nature, even just the sound of rain or the movement of trees, is a Stoic form of meditation. Observation without judgment reminds us that everything flows, and if everything flows, why resist? When you understand that life is constant motion, you begin to dance with it instead of fighting against it. Gratitude arises naturally in this state. Gratitude for being alive, for breathing, for learning. And that daily gratitude strengthens self-control, virtue, and resilience. You don't need much to feel at peace, you just need presence. This connection also frees us from the illusion of total control. Life has its own will, its own current, and the Stoic learns to respect that, not with passivity, but with wisdom. It's like rowing in a river. You can choose the direction, but you can't control the current. And understanding this lifts a huge weight off your shoulders. It's as if a new lightness appears, allowing you to live with more detachment and clarity. Acceptance of what is doesn't mean stagnation. It means taking action that's aligned with what truly matters. And that transforms your decisions, your relationships, even the way you work. And when you live connected to the present, everything starts to fit together. Worries shrink, emotions stabilize, energy is renewed. You become more patient, more fair, more human, because life stops being a struggle and becomes a journey. And on that journey, the Stoic walks with serenity, not because everything is under control, but because they're at peace with what they can control. And when they look back, they see that this calm comes from solid principles, repeated, practiced, and revealed as true Stoic pillars. At the end of the day, Stoicism is simple, not easy, but simple. It revolves around a few core pillars that, when practiced consistently, transform the way we live. The first is self-control. Being the master of yourself is more powerful than trying to control others. When you gain command over your emotions, thoughts, and impulses, you become the author of your own destiny. It's like walking with stability, even when the ground is shaking. And in such a chaotic world, that's a rare advantage. Those who cultivate self-control discover that freedom begins from within. Another fundamental pillar is acceptance. Not the acceptance of resignation, but of reality as it is. Accepting what cannot be changed frees up energy to focus on what can. It's an act of emotional intelligence. When you stop fighting facts and start acting on choices, everything changes. This kind of mindset protects you from unnecessary suffering and brings you closer to serenity. It's like cleaning a dirty window. Suddenly you see life more clearly, and that clarity creates space for virtue to bloom in every action. Virtue, in fact, is the highest pillar of Stoicism. To live with virtue is to align thought, speech, and action with integrity. It's being just even when no one's watching, wise even when everyone else is in a hurry, brave even when fear is present. And this isn't something learned from books. It's built through daily living. Over time, we sculpt this character. And the more we live with virtue, the more we become a source of inspiration. Not through force, but through the quiet consistency of someone who lives what they believe. Serenity is the natural result of Stoic practice. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's the consequence of a disciplined mind, conscious habits, and choices aligned with nature. And here lies an important truth. Serenity doesn't mean the absence of problems, but the presence of wisdom. It's knowing that life has its ups and downs, but you are prepared to face them all. And when you understand that, resilience becomes almost second nature. You bend with the wind, but do not break. You feel the pain, but you don't drown in it. These pillars, self-control, acceptance, virtue, and serenity, form the foundation of a meaningful life. Not a perfect life, but a conscious one. A life where chaos isn't an enemy, but a teacher. Where solitude doesn't frighten you, but teaches you. Where detachment isn't loss, but lightness. And when you look at all of this, you realize Stoicism isn't a destination. It's a path that continues and begins again with each new choice, with every new sunrise. Now tell me, what's going to change if you keep reacting the same way to everything, every day? What's going to happen if you keep living on autopilot, trying to control the world while not even mastering yourself? The truth is, chaos won't disappear, but you can stop being its prisoner. The choice is in your hands. Do you want to keep exploding over little things, drowning in anxiety, fear, and comparison? Or do you want to start building an inner fortress, one built on virtue, serenity, and self-control? Stoicism isn't just a pretty quote to post on Instagram. It's a living daily practice that transforms. But it only transforms those who apply it. So now it's up to you. What will you do with this knowledge? Will it become just another video you watched, or will today be the day you start applying it? Conscious breathing, disciplined thinking, premeditation of evils, purposeful action, one step at a time, small but steady. The journey doesn't require speed, it requires presence. And tell me in the comments, which of these pillars resonated with you the most? Which habit are you going to start practicing today? I want to hear from you. Your response might inspire someone else, and if this content helped you, imagine what's still to come. So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here, every week, you'll receive more than just information. You'll receive direction.